Welcome everyone to part one of our three-part town hall series. Thanks to Reach Council and United Way of West Ellis County. Tonight is all about having critical conversations with youth, and we are super glad you're here. We're gonna hang out just for a little bit and give some people some time to sign on, and then we'll get rolling. All right, if you haven't gotten your bag yet, don't worry. We have another opportunity for you to get your bag. You can pick it up anytime tomorrow or Thursday. We have a couple of times there on the screen at Reach Council in Midlothian. So you got your second chance to pick up your bag. So again, welcome if you're just now signing on. Welcome to Critical Conversations with Youth, presented to you by Reach Council and United Way of West Ellis County. We're super glad you're here. This is part one of a three-part town hall series where we're discussing lots of really important topics. We have all your upcoming events, so be sure to take some screenshots. I know it's flying through there quickly, so it should loop back around and you can take some screenshots of all of our upcoming events. But we have a lot of exciting things going on here at Reach. And so we're super excited to get started tonight. I'm going to give everyone just maybe another minute or two, and then we'll get rolling.
Morning has come, I'm awake, and I feel ready to start the day. I will get up, I will get dressed, and everything will go my way. 'Cause today is my day. Today.
Got lots of people signing on now. We're super glad you're here. Thank you for coming. We hope tonight is going to be impactful. We have an amazing lineup tonight. Lots of amazing, lots of exciting things that we're going to talk about. So let's dive right in. All right. Okay, hopefully everyone can see me now. Hello. We are super excited that you're here. My name is Shelby Garcia, by the way, and I'm representing a team of many, many people who worked really hard to put tonight together for you. And we're just super honored and excited to bring to you all this information. We have a bunch of amazing people who've said yes to this opportunity to speak to you tonight. And so we're really excited that you're here. I want to first take a second to just do a quick Zoom webinar orientation. If you are like a lot of us in these times, we've been stuck to the Zoom screen lately, huh? So this might look a little different than some of your other Zoom experiences because this is a Zoom webinar versus a Zoom meeting. And so if you're attending, we won't be able to see your camera and you'll be on mute, so we won't be able to hear you. But we do want to hear you in a sense of we want to know what questions that you have or any comments that you want to make. And so your opportunities to do that would be to put something in the chat. We have a chat feature available to you. If you want to make comments or encouraging phrases towards the speakers or just make any comments or start up any chat in there, you're welcome to do so. We do have someone monitoring that. So hopefully they can help you also troubleshoot if you're having any technology issues. Also, we have a question and answer feature, the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We want to really encourage you to use that tonight because tonight is about you. This whole thing was put together because we want to have critical conversations with our youth. As a mother, I know I'm looking forward to the information that's going to be presented tonight. And so parents, whoever's attending tonight, if you have questions that come up, please feel free to put those in the Q&A there. You won't be interrupting the speaker. So this is almost like your very own personal Post-it note that you can use. And so just put the question in there. We have someone monitoring that, and we'll be sure to field those questions and get those answered with our panelists. So couple of things tonight. If you have already picked up your bag, then you probably have that in your hand now. If you haven't, that's okay. You can come by Reach Council anytime tomorrow or Thursday, and I'll be sure to put that slide back up at the end so you can get that info. But in your bag is a lot of wonderful resources that we've put together to accompany tonight and our other 2 series that we're doing in this 3-part town hall series. And for tonight, this is all about social and emotional learning. That's really just a fancy word for we're finally caring about what's going on in the brain, right? And we're finally caring about the thoughts and the emotions of our kids. And we're starting to learn a lot about that. And I love that everyone is kind of the buzzword now. And so in your bag for tonight, we have a lot of great resources. We have some games in there, some chalk, some family activities. But most of all, I want to direct your attention to 2 pretty cool items that are in there. In your bag, you have a magnet that is all about being an active listener. So I encourage, we made it a magnet so you could put it on the refrigerator and keep it accessible, because I know for my kids, this is something we all need to practice, even as grownups, practice being an active listener. Such an important part of building relationships. Also in your bag, you have a really fun activity that we as prevention staff that work in the schools, we love to do this activity when we get a chance to do small groups. And this is our sunshine and our cloud activity. So while we don't have a chance to really share in this moment, I would like to just kind of take a second and just relax, be fully present, try to put our phones away, and really engage in this opportunity to learn. And we can start by just being grateful. So we can think about the sunshiny parts of our day, and we can think about the cloudy parts of our day. And when we're in small groups, this is our opportunity for kids to share. And we know that this is a great opportunity to learn to communicate our feelings and just to communicate about what's going on in our day. And we always encourage our kids, though we may have some clouds, we may have some cloudy times, some cloudy days, if we look really, really hard, we can almost always find a sunshine. And so I want to encourage you to do that today and kind of get yourself relaxed and get yourself ready to receive all of the amazing information that we have planned for you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get us started and just kick it off right with our first speaker. I am honored and excited to introduce to you our keynote speaker for tonight, and it is Natasha Stewart. Natasha Stewart currently serves as the director for the Center of Counseling and Behavioral Health at the Potter's House in Dallas, under the leadership of Bishop T.D. Jakes. Natasha is an inspirational speaker, advisor, and life coach. Mentoring the masses through television, social media, one-on-one consultations, and conferences. Natasha's passion, transparency, and authenticity has afforded her the amazing opportunity to work with professional athletes and sports teams and politicians and governmental agencies, faith-based entities, as well as the nation's top universities and colleges. Integrity, confidentiality, and the ability to connect with people in a judgment-free atmosphere has kept her in the profession for over 20 years. Natasha has received multiple degrees, PhDs and master's degrees and bachelor's degrees, numerous state and national and local licensures, certifications, and professional credentialing to stay cutting edge and well-versed in her chosen field of study. Most recently, Natasha was awarded the Presidential Volunteer of the Year Award in 2019, along with being honored at the United Nations and granted an official pin of honor for her work in the field of mental health. 2 of Natasha's greatest blessings are her grown children, Kiana and Anthony Stewart. In her spare time, Natasha enjoys traveling, reading, and taking on new adventures. She considers herself a lifelong learner and is inspired to share what life has taught her about the power of inner healing, hope, and new beginnings. And it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to Natasha Stewart. Hey, Natasha.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to be here. I think this is a phenomenal event. And I was just so excited. So I thank the Reach Council. I thank United Way. And I'm just excited. And I encourage you to use the Q&A feature and the chat feature. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I want us to all learn. So I want us all to do, like Shelby said, just take a deep breath and relax and release and kind of just be present in this moment. And when I was thinking about this and preparing for this, I was thinking about social and emotional learning. And as Shelby said, it's such a buzzword right now, such a hot topic. Everybody's doing it, every school district. This is probably about the 7th school district that I have worked with to talk about social emotional learning. But what I find is, even though it's a buzzword and people hear it, they don't know what it is, okay? And so I just want to kind of break it down. So a definition for social and emotional learning, it refers to the soft skill set that is essential for your child or you. People always equate this to children, but what I find is adults need this too. So as you're listening, don't just think about critical conversations with the youth, but think about critical conversations with yourself. Because this is what I know about children. They model what we show them. So if you master social emotional learning, then your children or the children that you interact with will have a good representation of what that looks like. So basically, it is just teaching them how to have strong social and emotional skills that can enhance their performance, not just at school, because this is where we hear about it a lot, is in school, but in life. These are skill sets that your children or yourself need to have productive relationships in life. So when I talk about it, I really like to broaden our thinking, not just in school, because how many of you know kids do graduate, right? Hopefully, right? Hopefully kids graduate. So we don't want to just teach them a skill set for school. We want to teach them something for life. This is a skill set. If we work on this now, what we're creating are positive human beings that are giving back to their community, they are giving to themselves. And all that social emotional learning is just training a child to be in tune, to be in sync with what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Okay. And a lot of times we use all these fancy words about cognitive dissonance and affective emotions and all that stuff. And really, it's just how you think and how you feel. And what we know with children, they're big on feelings, right? Because the brain doesn't fully develop till around about age 23, 24, some even say 27. Okay. So when you say to a child, what were you thinking? They weren't. Their brain is not developed, okay? So sometimes we're asking kids to think on a level they're not equipped to. And we're asking kids to think when they haven't been trained to. Because what we do with kids is we tell a lot. When we have kids, we tell them, do your homework, clean your room. So we haven't taught critical thinking skills, okay? We have taught how to obey. Hopefully, you know, that's our goals, right? I just want you to do what I'm telling you to do. But we really have not given them the power to think. But what happens, what we don't have to teach children is feelings. Kids feel all on their own, okay? And we know this is instinctual, right? From birth. You know, babies, they feel. They cannot communicate to you. You don't know what's going on in their little minds, but you know they're feeling, okay? So we don't necessarily have to teach kids feelings. What we have to teach kids is how to label their feelings. Because a lot of times as adults, we classify kids as having about 3 emotions: mad, sad, and glad, and that's it. But there's so many other emotions that kids experience, like disappointment or loss or grief or joy or peace. And they don't fall into those glad, sad, mad. And so when we isolate and we don't teach kids how to really develop their feelings and how to think And how do you connect your feelings to your thinking? And this is what I tell kiddos all the time. Just because you think it doesn't mean you have to act on it. And so we have to connect their feeling to their behavior, to their thinking. Because as you think, thinking is a behavior, okay? How you think, how you process. Now we have to link that to what they're doing, their feelings, because they will think something and then they will act on it because they think it's right, because this is how I felt. How many times have you had a child said, because I said so? Right? It's like, that doesn't really make sense if you think about it, but they're not thinking. They are hugely driven by emotions. We won't even talk about teenagers, right? I've had 2 teenagers. And when I say teenagers are emotionally driven sometimes, they get caught up in emotions. For my daughter, I had put on a big mural on her bedroom wall to say that, popularity ends on, senior year. It's no longer a popularity contest once you graduate. And so you have to work on character. You have to work on integrity. You have to work on those things that sometimes get brushed aside. So that's all that social emotional learning is teaching kids how to connect their thinking and their feeling, okay? And it not be this big disconnect, because a lot of times you'll ask a kid, why did you do that? I don't know, right? I was mad, I was angry, I was sad, I was scared. They don't know why they did what they did. So there are 5 parts of social emotional learning, and we'll get into all that. And I'm originally from New York, so I talk a little fast. So if I'm talking too fast, I'm trying to get my Texas drawl on. But if I'm talking too fast, let me know. But I'm seeing the thumbs up. Okay. So 5 parts or domains of social emotional learning. There's self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship management, and responsible decision-making. So let me go over those again in case you're taking notes. Self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship management, and responsible decision-making. So those are the 5 domains of social emotional learning. Those are the 5 areas that we want to develop in our children, and once again, ourselves, because I think social emotional learning doesn't stop. Okay, I think you just increase your capacity. Okay, so for our kiddos, we want to start helping them to manage their own emotions. And I know as a parent, sometimes I wanted to tell my kids how to feel. And if I can be transparent, and I think she read that in my bio, that one of the things that I'm known for is my transparency, because I feel like we all go through life and we all experience things, and I think it's for the greater good sometimes. So I try to be as transparent as possible. So here's my transparent moment, and we're going to act like we're in Vegas. What's the tagline for Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I better not find my business on the internet, right? No, I'm joking with y'all. But so I was married for 18 years, okay? And then I got a divorce. And so I have 2 children that they were produced in the marriage. That's their father, I'm their mother. And what I had to learn through my divorce, I could say he was not such a great husband, but I could not say he was not a great dad, because he's not my dad. He was my husband. And being a dad is a different role than being a husband. And so when we're talking about self-awareness, I had to be self-aware. I could say all day long what he didn't do as a husband and why we got a divorce, but I could not say what he didn't do as a father. Now, I may have some thoughts of what he didn't do, but it was not my place. Why? Because he's not my father, okay? That wasn't his role for me. So I didn't get to speak on that. Who got to speak on that? My 2 kids. And I didn't get to influence their decision, because we do that, right? We try to influence the conversation. Part of social emotional learning is letting them be self-aware. In this moment where I'm hurt, where he's hurt, We purposely together said, we're not going to talk bad about the other spouse or the other parent, because I'm not his mother, he's not my father. So we were encouraging, even in a not so great situation, we were encouraging our children to be aware, self-aware of what was going on in their world. They could not control it. They had no say in whether we got divorced, but it was affecting them. And so, being the therapist that I am, I'm always concerned about their mental health and emotional wellness. And am I scarring my children? You know, what am I doing? So I wanted to make sure I increase their social emotional learning. And so I was very frank with them, is I don't get to tell you how to think. And that's what we like to do with kids. We want to tell them what they think. We want to tell them, because we believe this way, because we look this way, because we dress this way, that's what you're supposed to do. And then we get mad at them because they don't think. Are we raising kids to think, or are we raising kids to copy us? And those are the hard questions we have to ask ourselves. So a lot of times I get invited to speak and they want me to give these topics to, how do I change my child? And really, I say, if you change the child, it's really starting to change the parent. So I can't even get to the child until we get to the parent and deal with your stuff. Because if you're not a social emotional learning adult, you can't produce a social emotional aware child. Your child is not going to have self-awareness because their center of self is you. Okay, they're not going to have social awareness, because what if their friends don't look like you? What if their friends don't look like your friends? I remember I would say this, if you didn't know by now, or maybe you don't, because I don't know if you see me. Do they see me? They see me, Shelby? I was going to say I'm African American. So if you didn't notice, now you know. And don't put that on the internet either. No, I'm joking. I'm African American. And I used to say my house was the United Nations, because my kids had friends. My son had his 10th birthday party, and he was the only Black boy there. And I was like, do y'all have any Black friends? And so out of 20 kids at, what's the little game place we used to be able to go to when we weren't socially distancing. And he's the only little Black boy. And I looked around and I said, huh. And I said, well, I guess I'm doing my job right, because his friends don't have to look like my friends, and we're all welcomed. So when we're talking about social emotional learning, that's why I don't like to put it in the classroom setting. I like to put it in a life setting, because we're good when the confines are a classroom. But how about when we get out the classroom and little Johnny wants to be little Jabari's friend? Right? Okay, so when we're talking about developing independent thinkers, and responsible decision-making is huge. All of a sudden, we think when kids get to be teenagers, that's when they should make decisions. But where do they get the practice? So when we're talking about making decisions, it's little things, and you still get to have some sense of control. If you want your kid to eat vegetables, instead of saying, we're having broccoli tonight, how about saying, you get to choose, do you want broccoli or carrots? Both are vegetables. Both are good for you, right? So it's everyday decisions like that, that when you make them part of it, then they start learning and trusting their decisions. Because all of a sudden, as teenagers or young adults, we say, well, trust yourself. But we never gave them the opportunity to do that. So I encourage parents, give children options and tell them, I have confidence. I just had one of my adopted sons. He was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And so he was coming to me to tell him what to do. And I said, you know what? I said, you are really smart. I think you're going to figure it out. And when you do, let me know. And he was talking about what he wanted to major in school. Either major. The fact was he's going to school. That's a, yay, you're going to college. So do I really need to pick his major right now when studies show that most people change their major? So I don't need to get caught up in saying, you need to major in this. What I need to do is say, you know what, you're so smart. I think you're going to figure out the perfect major for you, and I'm here to support you. And then he sat there and he said, well, why can't I double major? Now, see, I would have just gave him one. I didn't think about double. I said, now you ain't that smart. No, I'm joking. But I said, oh, I said, that's an excellent idea. You can double major. Why? Responsible decision-making. So when we see these terms in social emotional learning, I don't like to make it so theoretical that we don't practice this in our everyday, where it's like a therapy. It's not therapy. It's everyday life where these kids are making decisions. And sometimes we get so busy, and especially now with this pandemic and shelter in place, we might be there physically, but are we really present? And so they may have more access to us, but not more accessibility to us, if that makes sense. And I love that they gave the little magnet with the active listening, because we all think we listen, but there's a difference between active listening, because that's when you don't have your phone, you're not watching Netflix, you're not stirring the pot in the kitchen, but they have your full undivided attention. And then you tell them, so I hear you saying, and you don't have to say it like Dr. Phil, but you can say, wow, I never thought about it like that. You know, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And that's active listening. And that's really a skill. Okay. So all of that is social emotional learning. So when we hear this term, I don't want it to be this thing that's like the school is doing and I don't know how to do it, and we got to leave that to the professionals. You're doing it. We just want you to do it correctly. Okay. And I guarantee you, when you do this, your children are going to be, and I'm not going to say they're not going to have problems in life, because that's life, right? But they're going to be equipped for their problems, okay? They're going to have a skill set. It's like a toolkit, okay? How many of us have toolkits at home, okay? Do you just have a hammer in your toolkit? No, you have a hammer, you have a wrench, you have about 10 different screwdrivers. I don't know why there's so many screwdrivers, but you have them, right? So, and they all do something different, right? So you have it in your toolkit. This is something that you're putting in your child or your toolkit, and you can pull it out when you need it, okay? So that doesn't mean something doesn't break around the house because I have a toolkit. It just means when it's broken, I have the tools to fix it. I pull out one of those 10 screwdrivers, right? Okay, so that's what we're doing. That's what social emotional learning is. It's connecting your child's ability to feel and to think, okay? And do it in a way that's socially responsible. Do it in a way that they care for themselves. Because one of the myths, and I say this, and I don't mean to be gender specific, but a lot of times girls are raised to be nurturers, where we take care of everybody else. And girls grow up playing with dolls, okay? And so we very early on, we play with dolls and we learn to nurture. But what we don't learn is self-care. And somehow self-care gets translated into selfishness. And those are two different things. When I take care of myself, that's self-awareness. I am a limited, what's the word I was looking for? It just went out my mind. But I'm a limited quality, okay? There's only one of me. And if I don't take care of me, I can't give you the best of me, okay? So self-care and self-awareness is not selfishness. Being aware of what you need and learning how to set boundaries. And this is not gender specific. This is boys and girls. Learning to set healthy boundaries and saying no when something doesn't feel right. Because even before they think about right or wrong, they're going to feel, is this touch right? Is this touch wrong? And self-awareness gives them the permission to say, no, you don't get to violate my boundaries, even when they can't verbalize it like that. They're in tune with their feelings that this feels uncomfortable, even if it's whatever it is. anything that's going on, bullying. This doesn't feel right internally. I know everybody's teasing this kid, but internally, this doesn't feel right to me. So I'm self-aware that I have the right to feel what I feel, and I get to say, no, I'm not participating in that activity. That's self-awareness. Self-awareness is saying, you know what? I need a time out from social media because it's getting to be too much. And it's okay if I say that, okay? Social awareness is understanding my actions that affect those I'm connected to. That is social awareness, that I don't live in a bubble. When I was growing up, and I'm dating myself, and you guys probably won't know this movie, but it was a movie that came out about the boy that lived in the bubble. Does anybody know that movie? Okay. Oh, thank God. I see some hands raised. Okay. So it was the boy that lived in the bubble. We don't live in a bubble. Everything. Oh, somebody said bubble boy. What in the comments? Yes. Okay. And I think that was a Seinfeld episode too, but I digress anyway. So we don't live in a bubble. Kids early on need to understand, and some adults need to understand this, that your actions affect others, even on a small scale, okay? And I use this example because people don't really think about it. If you work and you go to a job and you take pens from your job, somebody has to replace those pens. And you think, oh, it's a pen, it's a small thing. But I bet you to that accountant who's counting pens, it's not a small thing. So even though nobody sees you take that pen, and every month your department is ordering another box of those little big pens, that's affecting somebody. So everything that you do has an effect on somebody that you're related to or connected to in the universe. And even if you don't see it, doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect, right? So being socially aware, and my pet peeve is litter. I hate litter. My kids sometimes get embarrassed. If we go out and I see somebody littering, I give them the stare. And that stare says, you really gonna throw that on the ground? Really? I don't say nothing, but I give them the stare. And then 9 out of 10 times they pick it up and say, oh, that dropped. Thank you for getting that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Keep our community clean. Thank you. But okay, so social awareness is key. And what I do affects my community and the world I live in, okay? Self-management. Once again, being in control, connecting my feelings with my thinking is self-management. I tell kids all the time, feelings are not right or wrong. They're just feelings. It's the corresponding behavior that's right or wrong. Because I can feel upset every day and I could want to smack everybody I see. That's a feeling. Can I have that feeling? Yes. But when am I going to get arrested? As soon as I act on that feeling, right? So, learning self-management. So I don't deny the feeling. I have this feeling, I'm angry, but I don't have the right to demonstrate that in my behavior. So now I have to deal with, why am I angry? And now I have to find a way that's acceptable to deal with the anger. So I don't deny kids' feelings. You have the right. I used to tell my children, oh, you don't have to like me. That's okay. Because sometimes I don't like you either. But I love you. I will always love you. I said, but I don't always like you. Do you think I like having to tell you to clean up your room? Do you think I like telling you to do your homework? Do you think I like paying these cell phone bills that I don't use? No. So we're on the same page. Okay, now tell me what you're doing for me. Oh, living in my house, rent free. Oh, okay, got you. But you don't like me. Okay. That's making them self-management and relationship management, because kids are egocentric, right? So kids are egocentric and they think everything revolves around them. So a part of relationship management, my daughter was shocked when I told her, sometimes I can't believe you said you don't like me. Didn't you start the conversation saying you didn't like me? I'm the one to pay your medical, your dental, your food, your clothes. Like you exist because of me. But she could understand her not liking me, but she couldn't understand me not liking her. So relationship management, let's talk about relationships. It's not one-sided, okay? What are you putting in the relationship? What are you getting from it? And we actually sat down and had a discussion. And I said, okay, Liz, yes, tell me, why don't you like me? And I know y'all not gonna believe what she said, but she said, Mama, you yell. I said, I yell? I said, okay. I had to eat it. I had to take it. I said, okay. So from now on, if I'm yelling, because I feel like you're not listening to me, do this, and I will stop yelling, and I will apologize for yelling. I said, now can we get to why I don't like you? And I bet you my list is longer, but I digress. And I said, but I love you. But that's relationship management, because, I know this is there, and I'm thinking I'm running out of time here. There's a theory that we can't be honest with children, that they can't handle the truth. But this is the thing, then they go out in the world and they get exposed to the truth, and we sugarcoated everything for them. It's like, have honest conversation that are age appropriate. My daughter was about 16 when we had this conversation. Now she's a law student, second-year law student, so I didn't do too bad, right? And so we had this conversation because I want her to learn about relationships, and that you have some stuff too. You're not all rosy, and you have areas of growth. And how do our kids grow if we always sugarcoat and say, oh, you're wonderful, and I know that teacher was lying on you. I know you didn't talk out in class. I know you did your work and the dog ate it. I know. No, you, We're gonna talk about this relationship management and how you manage other people's feelings. Because not only are you responsible for your feelings, you're responsible for how you treat people. That's relationship management. You're responsible for how you make other people feel, okay? Now, you're not responsible for their response, but you can't put something out there, and then when I was growing up, we say, throw the rock and hide your hand. You can't throw rocks and hide your hand. If you threw the rock, you have to be responsible to say, it was me, I threw the rock, and I'm sorry, now let's work through this, okay? And then I'm going to close up, because I think I'm running out of time, responsible decision-making. This to me is the biggest thing, because we always tell kids to be responsible, but we don't teach them responsibility, okay? Responsibility is taught and it's modeled. How do we model that as adults for our young people? By doing what we say we're going to do, even when we don't feel like it. And closing up, the biggest thing checked for me was my daughter, and it was all my daughter. She was born to be a lawyer. But anyway, I was on the phone with a friend, and I really wanted to get off the phone. And I said, oh, girl, somebody's at my door. Let me talk to you later. Because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, like, okay, I done had enough, get off this phone. So I said, somebody's at my door. Let me call you later, bye. Nobody was at the door. My daughter was looking at me. She did the litter look. I said, girl, I just said, she said, Mama, you tell us not to lie. You lied. I didn't lie. Mama, that was a lie. I said, you right. You right. That wasn't a responsible decision making. I should have been honest and told her I needed to go. I didn't have to make up a lie. Kids will hold you accountable. So when we want them to be responsible, we have to model that, because I don't want you to lie. So I can't lie. So when we're talking about responsibility and how to do that, we have to show them what responsibility is. And yes, does it make us stand up a little taller? It does. But we're responsible, okay? Because we're entrusted with these lives, okay? So I'm going to close with that. If you have any questions, put them in the comment, and thank you. Sorry, went over time.
Oh, don't be sorry at all, Natasha. Thank you so much. You guys put a 1 in the chat if she absolutely rocked your world and taught you something tonight. I know I've got all the 1s. Here they come. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. You were amazing. I could not write fast enough. I was, that was so good. I've got a lot of work to do as a mama. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, guys, we're going to keep it rolling. We have some exciting things for you for the rest of the evening. This is the time in which we want to go into our panel section. And so what we have is we have an amazing group of people. I'm going to bring them on the screen here for you. We have an amazing group of panelists here to serve you, and I can't wait to introduce them to you. So first up, we have the amazing Ariana Garcia. Ariana is a senior at Milford High School, and at only 17 years old, she already knows she wants to be a psychologist. Yes, you can give her a hand, and she already knows she wants to be a psychologist. Ariana recently completed the CADCA Youth Training Program, where she discovered a newfound passion for educating her peers and serving her community. So when she was asked to be a part of this panel and share a youth perspective, she was like, absolutely. And I am blown away that she's here. I know all of us are going to be all ears because we want to hear the team perspective. So thank you, Ariana, for being here. We also have Dina Petty. She's a dear friend of mine, but Dina Petty is also the founder and executive director of Mentors Care, a nonprofit organization that pairs volunteer community members with high school students who are at risk of not graduating. Dina originally founded the organization in 2009 and has successfully integrated her program in 7 schools now. Everything about the program and what she hopes to accomplish is based out of what Dina wished she had as a kid growing up in a very dysfunctional environment. Dina is passionate about helping young people in similar situations to realize their potential by giving them necessary tools to lead purposeful and fulfilling lives. Dina served as a youth pastor for 6 years before beginning her life's work as the founder and executive director of Mentors Care. So we're super, super glad that you're here.
Thank you.
And then, yes, also we are honored and privileged to, Milford is just in the house tonight, y'all, because we have Milford Orndorff. Milford Orndorff is in his 3rd year as superintendent of Milford ISD. As an instructional leader, Vernon was a high school assistant principal for 4 years and served as a middle school principal for 3 years. And before entering school administration, he was an elementary, middle, and high school teacher. Vernon has been a professional educator for over 30 years, serving in 9 different school systems, teaching in Kansas, Texas, and Florida. So to say that he has had many opportunities for critical conversations with youth would be an understatement. So we are incredibly grateful that you all are here. And so we're just going to get this ball rolling. I have my first question. We have a couple questions you guys planned for our panelists, but we really want to answer your questions. So if you'll go ahead and put those in the chat, don't feel like you're going to be interrupting a speaker. Just put those in the chat and we have somebody monitoring those and we want to make sure we get to your questions. But all hats are off. Here we are. We're going to just talk about the hard things, right? Tonight is titled Critical Conversations with Youth. So let's get right down to it. We kind of all agreed and we polled each other and we thought that right off the top, we ought to talk about the trust that we build with our youth. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Dina, only because you're to my right in my little Brady Bunch screen. But I'm going to go ahead and start with you. And if you could each answer this question and just tell us, what advice do you have for parents when it comes to building and nurturing trust?
Well, after a lot of years of working with youth, one thing I realized is that for some parents, they have a hard time with the transitioning of their own child going from adult-child relationship into adult-adult relationship. And what they perceive as being disrespectful sometimes is sometimes them just trying to assert themselves to try to be an adult, and they might go about it the wrong way. And I think that's where parents can kind of help is say, let's have a conversation, but let's don't raise our voice, because as soon as a child says, you always, or you never, and then the parent gets angry and the walls go up, and then sometimes things can escalate. So if you can just start helping them, nurture them into, okay, so we want to talk about something. So let's sit down and let's have a conversation. And I talk to kids all the time in my office for years. I would talk about how you want to be an adult, you want to be treated like an adult, but did you talk to your mom or dad like an adult? Because do you see adults in the work world sitting across from one another when they have to negotiate a problem or if they have a question? Do they say, you always or you never? No, they'll say, I really would like to sit down and talk to you about an issue that I have. Do you have a minute? And so if you really want to grow into that adult relationship, that takes time. It takes time and it takes a lot of work. And so parents, when you see them asserting themselves, it's actually part of their development. And don't take it as a disrespectful thing. Maybe just help them learn how to grow into that adult relationship.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Vernon, would you care to take a shot at that one? What can we encourage parents to do to cultivate that trust with their
Yeah,
youth?
sure. And that was a great point Dina made in the adult to adult, because we really don't think that far ahead, right? When we're talking about critical conversations with youth. And I'm just going to echo some of Natasha's words. And I believe in critical conversations that you're going to hear about relationships. You're going to hear about active listeners, and you have the active listeners card in your packet. And that's a huge piece to this, right? And then think and be honest and role model. So all those things that we heard already tonight, you can apply across the board in critical conversations. But for me, and even our faculty and staff at Milford, we talk about building healthy relationships, and building is the key word. And you have to start early and don't give up. You know, you have to stay with it, be consistent, keep coming back and growing those healthy relationships. And it takes time, and the communication on both ends, like Natasha was saying, be honest, be real with them, and give them the opportunity to show you that they can follow through with some of those trust aspects in their lives. And no one's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, right? And how do you work through that adverse time and show your children, our youth, that we care about them and we believe in them? I don't think we tell our children enough. We tell them how much we love them. We don't tell them how all the time how much we believe in them. And you can work through those adverse situations when you take the time, and I think you said it, listen, listen, listen. And Natasha said it. We like to tell, we like to model, we like to tell youth how to act, when to act, but we need to be strategic in our conversations. And I know it's hard for us as adults just to pause and listen, just listen to our young people and start building those and cultivating those relationships. So it's a mutual trust between both parties.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you, Vernon. Ariana, give us the youth perspective. I mean, what can we do to better connect with you guys?
Well, going off of what Dina and Mr. Orndor said, my biggest advice would honestly be to allow them to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And instead of lecturing them when it comes to making those mistakes or talking to them, be better to have honest conversations with them and just talk with them, and instead of yelling or getting mad or saying things like, I told you so, it's better to just let them make their own mistakes, because I think that the best way to learn is through experience. So just to let them do that, and also to support them. I feel like a lot of parents, like Mr. Orndor said, they tell their kids, I love you, all the time, but they never say stuff like, I believe in you, or I'm proud of you, or stuff like that. So I think it's important to show them that regardless of what they do, you support them, be there for them, show them that you care. And I feel like that would be the biggest step to taking if you're trying to get them to trust you more or open up. And another thing is that when we tend to talk to parents, it always feels like they tell us that we don't know what we're talking about, or that we don't understand, simply because we're kids or we're still young, so we're inexperienced. And I feel like that can be very frustrating for youth, because it feels like our feelings are being dismissed, so we don't really feel heard or understood, and that can really make us feel alone or like we did something wrong, and no one likes feeling like that. So my biggest advice would really be to just listen, have honest conversations, and be there for them.
Oh my goodness. Say that again for those of us in the back. We need to I love that. Excellent. Thank you. Natasha, anything you want to add to this topic of building trust with our youth?
No, I love what Ariana said about allowing them to make mistakes. allowing them, and we need to remember we were there too once, you know, and what they feel is real and valid. And so I love what she said about validating their feelings. And even a lot of times we think validation is agreement. It's not. I can validate your feelings and still not be in agreement with what you did, but I can say, okay, I understand why you did that. And so I love that about the validation and allowing them the room, having a safe space to make mistakes.
Mhm.
Yes, that's so good. Okay, so we're going to kind of switch gears here and talk about the hot topic of social media. And we, you know, as grown-ups, we just can't keep up with all the things, right? So there's just so many different platforms of social media. So let's just have a quick conversation about how parents can keep that open line of communication. What tips do you have for parents about talking about, so, you know, being safe on social media with their youth? So who wants to take this one first? Dina, you want to give it a shot?
I'll give it a shot. It is such a hard one because they put so much interest in it and validation in it, which is so sad. So in talking with students, you know, it's always, if you worry what others are thinking, you know, you're detrimental to yourself, but how do you do that with a kid? You know, that it means a lot to them what their friends are saying and thinking. But the biggest thing is you have to understand you can only control one thing, and that's yourself. You can't control what the other person says or the other person and what they think, but working on you loving yourself and feeling good about yourself. You won't want the validation of others. It's so hard though, because they're just at that age where the friendships are just so important. So, you know, parents, it really is worth maybe putting some parameters around it. Don't let them have free reign. Really know what they're doing. Honestly, it's okay to ask questions. Who are they talking to? It's okay. They need your nurturing. They need your protection. They really do, because we don't know who they're talking to. You don't know who's out there. It's a very scary thing. And honestly, because of the child sex trafficking, I'm just going to say it. I mean, it is a real issue today, and there are predators out there looking for vulnerable young men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And we have had experiences with that throughout the years of our people coming after our students. And the way that they get to them is they see somebody that's lonely, they see somebody that's vulnerable, and they believe whatever that person's saying on the other side. They don't know who that person is. So it really comes down to really helping them understand the only thing you can control is yourself, and believing in yourself and what you're going to do. You can't control what the other person's going to say or think. And that takes years of nurturing and building up the person to believe in themselves.
That's so good. Thank you so much. Natasha, what can you add to this conversation, especially from a mental health professional's perspective, and how this might be affecting our youth?
I think social media is one of those things, and I tell parents, stop fighting it, because kids are going to get on social media.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to. So instead of making social media the enemy, make it your friend, and sit down and talk with your kids about what your fears are. Once again, it's that honest conversation. Say, this is my fear. Sex trafficking is a real thing, and this is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And telling them that, having that conversation, and say, if you're going to be on social media, can we agree to some terms? You don't accept friend requests from people you don't personally know. You report to me immediately any suspicious or out the way comments. Okay, so you sit down, and once again, that's that social emotional learning. You're teaching them responsibility, responsible decision making. So I'm not going to keep social media from you, because that's a losing battle.
Right.
What I'm going to do is introduce it to you in a loving, respectful way. And so we can agree. And then the other thing we're going to agree on is I'm your friend. So when you get my friend request, accept it. Okay. So that's how we did it in my house. You can be on whatever social platform you want to, but no, I'm lurking. No, I'm on there with you too. You're not on there by yourself. So if we're going to do this, we are going to do it as a family because it is my job to protect you. And I know you're not always going to get that. And it also, and then this is the other thing. That's how I learned my son cuss. I said, and mind you, he was in Oklahoma, a freshman in college, and he was on his social media account and he used the cuss word. I said, so they cussing in Oklahoma now? We cuss? I said, oh, okay. You know, but I had to let him, you know, and I sent it in a private message as not to embarrass him with his, but I said, oh, I didn't know you cussed. Okay. That's what we doing. But I had to let him. I didn't delete it. I didn't give him a lecture. I just kind of, how you guys are laughing, he kind of laughed. And he was like, I forgot you were on here too. Yes, I am. Okay. So, and he's 18. Well, at the time he's 18, he's 21 now. But I'm still on their social media accounts. All of them. Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever they're on, I'm on, and I still check their accounts. 21 and 24. I still monitor their accounts. So I didn't make it an enemy. And a lot of times we share jokes that way and things that go on in our lives. I'll send a picture, what I'm doing, what they're doing. So I make it a friend. I don't make it an enemy. When it's a losing battle, I'm not going to make that my enemy and I'm not going to fall on the sword there. I'm going to make this my friend. And we're going to talk about this. And this is how we're going to carry it out. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to show me that you can manage this responsibly.
Wow, that's such good advice. I'm going to be your friend. That's so good. Ariana, what do you think about that? What are they saying? What's the buzz on the streets with the kiddos?
Well, I love what she said, you know, about not making social media the enemy, because I mean, it really is a losing battle, and saying that she lets them do their thing, but also lets them know that she is there, so that she's seeing everything. Because I mean, social media can be such a negative space, and it can be a scary place. So I get why parents would want to limit that or get completely rid of it. But there's also another side of social media that I've seen so many posts, so many comments where teens go to express themselves or talk about how they're feeling because they feel like they can't express themselves at home or around friends out of fear of being judged or misunderstood. So it's easier for them to express their feelings to a bunch of strangers that they'll never see and who could possibly relate, which makes them feel less alone. And so even though it can be such a negative space, it also serves as a coping mechanism or a safe place for so many other teens. Like I have so many friends and people who go on there and just, it's almost like an online diary for them. They talk about their day, they express how they feel, they talk about stuff they feel like they can't talk to about with their parents because out of just fear of being judged. It makes them feel social media can be a place where once they post something about their feelings, usually they're met with comments about people telling them to keep their head up or to just keep taking it day by day, or just a random stranger telling you how proud they are of you or that you're enough. It can mean so much to a teen who doesn't feel like they get accepted at home. So I feel like social media, going off what Natasha said, parents should have ground rules and stuff like that when it comes to social media, because it can be a dangerous place, but they shouldn't completely cut it out of their child's life, because again, it can be a safe space and a coping mechanism for them.
That's so good. Gosh, you're so full of wisdom. I don't know if you're reading the chat, but you're getting all kinds of love in the chat about being so wise. So excellent. Thank you so much, Ariana. And you actually brought up something that I was thinking about how this social media is a form of expression. I mean, really, youth are looking for a way to express themselves and find out who they are and find out their interests. And Vernon, I know this is a passion of yours, getting children involved in extracurricular activities. So could you share with us how parents can encourage their children to participate in activities and all these positive alternatives to maybe risky behaviors? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick on that social media piece and education, right? It's a tool for us the electronics technology and those devices, especially now in this day and age, right? So who would have, we spent a number of years providing professional development for our teachers to create active learning spaces and engage students in group activities. And now through this pandemic, we've gone back to stand and deliver and separate our students and put them in front of computers right by themselves. But so that social media is a positive. And like Natasha says, parents need to have those good conversations. It's not, I don't trust you. It's our job as parents and adults to keep you safe. And you have those communications to build that. And there's a balance in social media that we tell our students, have that balance of capturing the moment, but also living in the moment. You want to live in that moment. And so a part of that is getting our children involved in the activities, extracurricular activities, community-based activities. And it's huge. It's a huge piece in building that self-confidence and that self-care for students. It teaches them a lot of things about themselves. It creates other interests that they may not know they have, and they can try new opportunities. It teaches them how to overcome adversity, and the parent can find a little bit more on how to support an interest that they may not know that their child has. And so it's important for parents to reach out to their schools, to partner with their schools, have conversations with their schools to see what they offer, but also what the community offers, and get their child involved in those, like you said, positive experiences outside of and away from social media.
Wow, that's so good. Yes, Dina, come on with it.
Yeah, I just worry about so many of the kiddos though, if they put so much stock into what the friends are saying on social media, because there is a lot of bullying that goes on, and we've had a lot of depression come through that because they put too much stock into what the friends are saying. And, parents need to keep reminding these kiddos, anybody can throw out there any comment without any responsibility. They say it's gone and without responsibility. Whereas they were standing face to face with somebody, they may not do that. And, my son being professional athlete, people say a lot of stuff and everybody's got an opinion. And so what we have to teach our kids is to really trust the people in our inner circle, the boundaries we put around us. We want the ones in our inner circle. We trust their thoughts, what they think, not everybody. Because everybody's just going to have an opinion, throw it out there without any responsibility, just throw it out there and don't care how it hurts that other person. And so I am very concerned about the social media and where it's going, and it is affecting our kids. And so our parents do need to be involved with it for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that we have over 40 people we had on this call so far, and this is being recorded and shared. And I think this is an interesting topic for many. We actually had a question come in the chat because that has to do with checking in with kids. And so Ariana, I would actually, if you're comfortable answering this one, I'd like to address this to you. And it says, what's a good way as a parent that we can check in on the emotions of our kids? As we always feel weird just saying, well, how are you feeling? What are some ways we can, and Natasha, you might want to take this too, because I'm sure you deal with coaching parents through this, but how can we check in? How would I know I'm totally putting you on the spot here, but what do you have to say?
Well, I honestly, I find it easy to talk to my parents about my day or how I'm feeling, because usually they start off by telling me, we'll be having dinner. That's usually when we have our conversations, and they'll tell me about their day, just randomly, or they'll be like, hey, I had a stressful day today, it was hard, and then that'll create a comfortable space for me, or like a safe space, and I'll be like, okay, well, my parents are trusting me with how their day went, so it makes me more open to expressing how my day was. And that's usually, I feel like that would help, having honest conversations. So opening up to them, showing them that you trust them so that they can open up to you.
So good. Natasha, do you have anything you'd like to add to that question that came from the group?
Yeah, And I think it's just being organic. Like she's saying, they have established a routine in their house that dinner time is family time. And we're going to have open and honest discussion, and whatever that looks like for your house, you know, or for your, you know, the people that you're dealing with. And I try to stay away from, because you say, how are you feeling? Fine. You know, one word answers. And I try to come up with creative ways of what was the best part of your day today? And then that is going to get them excited to talk. Or they might say, I didn't have a good part. Okay, well, what was the worst part of your day today? You know, and I always try to use humor, you know, because I'll say, well, let me tell you, y'all don't have nothing to say. I got something to say. Oh, the worst part, honey, listen, let me tell you, you know, and usually it lightens the mood. And then they start talking, like Ariana said, because I've been transparent. And I tell my kids when I mess up, like, you know, I missed it today. I was supposed to be nice to that woman, and I wasn't. I wouldn't let her get over in traffic. I had to get somewhere, you know. And so I let them see I'm not perfect, that I make mistakes, that I lose it sometimes. You know, I was going in, the lady got my order wrong, and I was about to go off, but I realized I had my badge on, and I work for a church. So I was like, oh, I got to be nice. Honey, I got my badge on, you know. So, you know, I tell stuff like that so they can be relatable, and they can say, well, Mom, you know, I wanted to lose it today too, or whatever. So I try to stay away from just how are you feeling to, you know, make it a conversation, you know, that's not like I'm digging. Because when you say, how are you feeling? It's like, what are you looking for? What are you searching for? I'm just trying to be part of your life. So what was the best part? What did you enjoy today? What didn't you like today? You know, just you know, and not make it a forced thing, like you're forcing it. I like organic conversations, and they can start at any time. It doesn't always have to be over dinner. It could be even while you're watching TV, or you're you know, whatever you're doing. Driving in the car to me was always the best time, because you have a captive audience, you know, and starting those conversations in the car. And so just making it organic and what feels natural to you and to your kids.
That's wonderful. And the only other thing I wanted to add to that is we gave you a resource that would be a really great conversational talk starter on this topic. And it seems childish, but it works for my teenager. And I tell them, okay, tell me your sunshine and your cloud, right? And believe it or not, they like to be fun sometimes. And so you've got an awesome resource here. And if you don't have this with you, you can still do sunshine and cloud. But I love what you said, Natasha. What was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? That's our sunshine and cloud. So that's awesome. I am super sad about it, but we're actually running out of time. So I want to wrap this up with 2 questions I wanted to make sure we got to tonight. And Natasha, from a professional's perspective, what are some warning signs? Mental health, thankfully, we're finally talking about it. Thankfully, we're finally diving in, and we're becoming more aware of the risk of suicide, and we're starting to have suicide prevention conversations. And actually, that's how Natasha and I met. She teaches a mental health first aid course that was a little plug. You got to do that course. It is awesome. It's just like CPR and first aid. We can all, as a layperson, we can save lives, right? So Natasha, from a professional's perspective, what are some warning signs we as parents need to know to identify possible mental health issues in our youth?
And this is the thing, some stuff is just typical teenage behavior, but warning signs are going to be when they start isolating. Now, it's typical for your teenager to not want to always hang around with you, but when they start not wanting to hang around with their peers, that may be a warning sign. When they are either sleeping too much or not sleeping at all, change in eating habits, once again, some stuff is typical, maybe growing spurts. My son is about 190 pounds, 6'3". So he started eating like everything. It wasn't because he was depressed, it's because he was growing. But just knowing their routines. Also, a lot of kids, they express themselves. If your child is talking about, writing about, drawing about anything about self-harm or depression or anxiety, take it seriously. If they're on social media, follow their page. Are they saying anything? A lot of kids now are using those platforms to put up stuff. So take it seriously. I give everybody this number. It's the 1-800-273-TALK. TALK, 1-800-273-TALK, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the suicide prevention line. So just look for anything, and it's in the chat. Just look for anything that is abnormal. If you know your child, you know their usual patterns, anything that starts deviating. Once again, there's some normal teenage behavior that's going to happen, but when it starts saying, that's not like a norm, what else is going on? Don't be scared to ask the question, are you having thoughts of suicide? Are you having thoughts? You're not putting it in their head. That's a myth. Okay. It's also a myth that if they talk about it, they won't do it. That's a myth. Okay. Studies and research show that 98% of people talked about it before they did it. Okay. So just always be available and don't judge. Just because they have those feelings doesn't mean they have to act on those feelings, and you can get early intervention.
Awesome. And Vernon and Dina, feel free to jump in. I know you both work with youth in schools exclusively, and anything stand out to you that would be a warning sign that you even see in your own experience with kids? Anything that, go ahead.
I don't know how you add to that, right? Natasha's pretty spot on right there, but I do want to say that Ariana is not a product of Milford ISD. Milford ISD is a product of Ariana. And she excels because she takes advantage of those opportunities that her school provides her, and she is a true leader. And I miss seeing you on campus. And to piggyback on that is that in this day and age, I cannot thank the Reach Council and the United Way of Ellis County for this opportunity for our parents, especially now, because relationships are so important with parents and adults. And because we provide those safety precautions at school, to social distance, to wear our mask, still that relationship, there's a little bit of a barrier, although we're trying to break those barriers down. It's so important now that parents understand the relationship piece, not only for them and their child, but for their peers as well. And everything that we've talked about, the social media piece, our students are craving that connection. We're social, right? We don't want that distance part. Human beings are social. We don't want the distance part. So I appreciate the opportunity and the topics, and I just encourage the parents to pass this message along to their communities to get engaged in this opportunity. It's huge for the success of our youth, especially getting through this pandemic and providing education for them, but also providing that social piece that all of our students need.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dina, go ahead. Yeah,
I just wanted to add to that. I was just talking to our staff about this, that, we're all relational. I mean, we all are, especially teenagers. And we've been forced to isolate, some of them, isolation in homes that are not the best thing. And so we're kind of expecting, not expecting, I don't want to say that word. We're preparing for the possibility that when we come out of this and we get back into the schools, there could be a little bit of a trauma residual. And so we're going to see some kids that might have some outcries, and there's going to be some signs of depression and anxiety. And really and truly, the best way to help a student is to be that listener and to really truly listen. And I tell you one thing that I think is so important for teenagers, and I've seen it so many times, if you can get them to look you in the eye. Because a lot of our kids are shy. They're not real good at social, being aware. They need to learn the social and emotional pieces of being successful in life. And part of it is the eye contact. And if you can ever get them to do that, sometimes that's when they really can connect with you, and they might open up a little bit more and tell you a little bit more than they normally would. I found that to be the case.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Ariana, we're going to let you close it out. Any final words that you have for us before I close the panel? And we have some exciting things, so don't leave yet. We do have a drawing for a $50. We have 3 separate winners are going to win a $50 HEB gift card. So don't leave quite yet, but I know we're all anxious to hear from you, Ariana. Tell us, can you help us get in the mind of a teenager? what would you say, or a few things that you could share with us that your generation wishes we knew about the things that you all go through and that you deal with on a day-to-day basis?
My biggest thing I could say would probably be that often school can be very stressful and it can be very overwhelming. And often parents will ask, you know, how are you feeling or how was your day? You know, and the youth might say it was stressful, it was a hard day, you know, and parents might say, how was it stressful? You know, you didn't really go through anything, you didn't do anything. And it can be a sort of dismissal of how they're feeling, which is just leads to them not trusting you. And another thing is, for the longest time, you know, I struggled with trying to be perfect all the time because I didn't want to disappoint my parents, or I didn't want to feel like I was letting them down. So I really struggled with learning that, you know, and, you know, helping my parents understand that I'm not perfect. I can't be perfect. We all make mistakes. And just not putting them on such a high pedestal to the point where they feel, well, where they add pressure to themselves, more pressure than society already adds, than parents, which is just a lot of unnecessary stress, you know? Um, Another thing would be to just, like I said earlier on, just let them make their own mistakes. I mean, the best way for someone to learn is through experience. So don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them how to live their lives. You know, just be there for them when they make a mistake and support them through that. Help them.
So good. Wonderful, you all. Thank you so much. For all of you that are attending tonight, if you were greatly blessed and just enriched by all of the information you got tonight, please put a 1 in the chat. We want to see how grateful you are, because I can tell you right now, I am so incredibly grateful for all of you who said yes to being a part of tonight. Yes, look at all the ones. There they are. We love it. You guys were amazing. You're wonderful, wonderful people, and you're just so incredibly wise. So we want to say thank you very much on behalf of Reach Council and United Way of West Ellis County. We are so grateful for just you participating. I know that our lives are better because of tonight. This is a big deal. I think that this is going to really help a lot of people. So thank you very, very much for being a part of what we did tonight. We also want to say thank you to HEB for our gift cards. Thank you to United Way of West Ellis County for sponsoring this event tonight, and all the support that we get from everyone that supports Reach Council, because everything that we do, we could not do without you. So thank you very much. If you attended tonight and you need a certificate of attendance, we want to give you an opportunity to get that. And so we have a QR code. I'll give you a second to fumble around because it took me forever to first learn how to scan one of these things. Most of us have these already built into our phones. So we would love, even if you don't need a certificate tonight, it would be a great pleasure of ours if you would just give us an evaluation about how tonight went and let us know. We have 2 more sessions of this 3-part town hall series, and we would love to know what we can do better to make this an amazing event. I thought it was pretty awesome, but I would love to know what we could do to make it better. And so please feel free to scan that and get that into us. And then of course, if you need a certificate of completion, be sure to put your email in that evaluation and we will send you your certificate of completion. And that is all we have for you tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to leave this screen up for a little bit because we're actually 8 minutes ahead of schedule, which I don't even know how we did that. That was awesome. Everyone did so great. Such amazing wisdom. Be sure to check your bags out, and I'll throw that screen up too, and make sure that you know how to get your bags if you need to. So there's your evaluation, and let me get you your info about the bag pickup. Because if you didn't get your bag, don't worry, we have another opportunity. So this is, if you can see, those that were wondering what's going to be in the bag, these are all the things, all the wonderful, amazing things. You've got things that will accompany each of the nights of our town hall series. This is part 1, having critical conversations with our youth. And then part 2 and part 3 are coming up in a couple weeks. So if you didn't get a chance to do that, here's your information. We have an opportunity tomorrow from 1 to 3 to come by the Reach office. There's our address down there at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And then also on Thursday from 11 to 3:30, you can come and pick those up. But you know, we're pretty flexible. So if those times don't work for you, please reach out to us. We want to make sure we get these resources in your hands. So just let us know and we will make every effort to make ourselves available to you. Well, we are so incredibly grateful for this evening. We just want to thank everyone again for coming. We hope that you were enriched and that you really enjoyed tonight. And so thank you guys. You all have a good evening.